that! This is my time to shine!
Lila, and Teeps, and Flora, and me. Rocket.
Boost! Fire!
This has happened before.
Advisor.
Before we begin, I just want to give a huge thank you for helping me achieve another milestone of 200 subscribers. And what better way to celebrate the occasion than highlighting a topic I hold so dear? Sure, there are facets in what makes games fun and important, such as gameplay, enjoyment, plot character development, or world building. That's all well and good, but for the longest time, there was just another element that hardly anyone cares for nowadays: closure. Growing up and also being a fanfiction writer, it became an expectation that things can either wear out their welcome or be cancelled without warning. There's nothing more heartfelt and grandiose than an endearing ending. We leave so many unfinished things in our lives, and a fantastic finale just gives the developers integrity, and for us, peace of mind. All good things must come to an end. Needless to say, there will be spoilers all over. Then again, this is the internet, so it's kind of inevitable anyways. And nothing should last forever, no matter how much greed and decay they shackle us with. Don't worry, this ain't my last project. Time to end this endeavor. Originally, I was gonna start with my first ever ending I've experienced, particularly Joe and Mac. Then I saw how lame and dull it was, especially revolting when the women began chasing the cavemen with the obese redhead leading the pack. Nice seeing some of the dinos, though. So I brainstormed more on another early SNES game, one I haven't beaten until a decade later. That game was ActRaiser. You know, the action platformer RPG that encouraged you to play as God and become the hero to the land from Tanzra's dark claws? No, literally. I first saw my older half-sister play this, and I was around 4 years old. It wasn't until when I was 14 when I finally played and soon beaten it. Courtesy of Game Winners. Needless to say, Tanzra used to scar me so badly. Even when his entire life bar reaches all the way across the screen. I thought he was almost impossible. Until there was just a simple pattern to his moves, and the projectiles fired from the Master's sword does double the damage to his core. So it kinda takes as long as any normal boss fight. Once you get the pattern down and are healthy enough after dealing with his 6 deadly sins in the boss rush, Death Heap finally ceases its violent storm, and you've emerged onto a calmer plateau looking over the horizon. The angel then praises you for become a tireless master, restoring the world and succeeding where he's failed the first time out. Then we're greeted by a sort of recap as we visit each town of the continent and the miracles we've made. The future teller's sacrifice, Teddy's death and we restored the clear lake from being a body of blood, reversing the plague thanks to some questionable herbs, calming the volcanic chain, and eliminating Tanzra's elites while making each town more habitable. It just feels so damn satisfying how much you made a difference, and the Master alone was inspiration to me on being the hero, earlier than Link. The incredible music and finale from 1991 really do wonders, and it clearly shows what tech limits and heartfelt effort can do. Renaissance was a disappointment, but the Masters inspired me a lot. It just feels so good on not just being some powerful deity, but the benevolent man inside the holy facade. Kinda makes me wish we can all be like him, Raiden, Fusion, or Lord Liu Kang in our next lives. Perfect endings often play hard to get. They require a lot of time, effort, and every task has to be completely flawless. Endurance is leached out of you, and many times it encases the term, "God dang it." Whether a super boss or no, they just outreach us. And if we don't achieve them, it leaves a pit of inferiority within us, as if the game's way out of our league. I think the earliest encounter I had was in Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. It's bad enough to reach the Flying Croc on its own, with all other levels raising the bar, and it's no wonder Wrinkly advised us to stock on plenty of lives. Without a guide handy, accomplishing this task can almost be impossible, because you constantly need to stock up on Creme coins. They're limited on paying Clubba's toll to the Lost World. Little did I knew that if 75 Creme coins are collected, the Lost World is actually unlocked. So don't waste time visiting, save it for last. Every single damned level is a hair ripper. But once you reach Captain K. Rool, the stakes are higher. After Diddy and Dixie clear all sections, the mouth of the Kremlin volcano opens, and the true final battle with Captain K. Rool commences. Within the Kremlin core, he stays to the right side of the arena, firing off the usual spiked cannonballs, as well as energy clusters that can freeze, slow down, or confuse the Kongs moving in opposite directions, as well as a blunderbuss sucking the Kongs in. However, his attacks are more sporadic than the first final boss. Honestly, the battle's not quite as difficult as the prior sections, but once K. Rool's defeated, the Kongs assist on rescuing Donkey Kong struggling to break free from his vines, uppercutting the Undertaker into the energy core, running all of Crocodile Isle. Upon the shutdown, the trio escape, as does their nemesis as we watch the Isle submerge itself. Yeah. His escape aid wasn't quite as satisfying as falling tens of feet below and having his head chomped up by sharks, but the challenge and the excellent sunset scenery just make the better ending qualify here. It was difficult to pick an ending from the Pokemon juggernaut. Everything just felt the same, and the games are always as formulaic as Mario, sometimes with Sonic, Zelda, Kirby, and several other popular IPs that don't seem to receive any type of closure at all. They're just prime examples that series tend to wear out their welcome even after 2 to 3 decades, or even more. People like me don't seem to care for those reasons. Always there to create a paper trail and too dependent to pay the bills. They lose their heart and luster. We can't move on, and these are always caught in an endless eternal loop. As endless as hell itself. Wow. Now I know how the cursed AC feels. Originally, N's Farewell was going to be on here, but I found X and Y to have more emotional weight. AZ is an elderly beggar who's been looking for a way out for over 3 centuries. He built the ultimate weapon, which was said to erase both factions of the Kalos War, an incident that cost his best friend's Floette's life. Upon the tragedy, he did erase both parties, which also caused him to become immortal. He cannot die, and he's been searching for his Floette for 3K years straight. He's been hollowed out by grief, sorrow, and remorse for the tragedies. But after the trainer defeats the usual champion in Elite Four and win over Team Flare, AZ challenges it to one final battle to see what it's like to be a trainer. After AZ lost, he's actually impressed, more hopeful in life, thanking the player in times and passion long forgotten. And lo and behold, we get to see his long-lost Floette, who hasn't perished after all. It was a powerful reunion, and I felt this was the last installment I was into once Generation 7 and the gimmicky DBZ moves shunned me. Still, it does pack a lot of emotional impact, and I wish DC and Floette would just pass away together, and no longer suffer the consequences and repercussions of eternal life. I hope this pokes their logic that living forever isn't as glamorous as foolish people proclaim. More importantly, I feel AZ's fate is a byproduct of a series trailing on for too long. Nothing lasts forever, and everything and everyone needs rest and completion to their lives. We become miserable, bitter, poisoned just as he does, consumed with grief, filling in an endless void with corrupt desires. We all eventually pass on, and I want other things to meet the same positivity we do, productively instead of just suddenly biting the dust. The first ending I've witnessed was indeed from Joe and Mac. However, if I were to pick a great ending from one of the earliest games I've encountered, it had to be from Bonk's adventure on the TurboGrafx. It was just one of many bucket list items I needed to complete. Just like in ActRaiser, there was an intimidating, complex boss rush, encasing many of Bonk's friends apparently, and soon Pseudo Za, who transformed and met the same fate. His mission was to save each one by breaking off their mind control chips implanted by King Drool, as Princess Za and Moonland remain in crisis with the inhabitants being petrified with the stolen crown in Drool's possession. It might as well be a spin-off to Joe and Mac on that regard. Once Drool and his complicated Astro Fortress is out of the picture, Bonk is taken to a distant world called Moonland, and we get to meet Princess Za as an adorable magenta dragon, who also happens to be Bonk's love interest. By using his head, literally, Each of the inhabitants come back to life thanking him and the player for a job well done. Then, like another certain royal, Zoc has his bunk, and then he erupts like a volcano the same way he'd enter invincibility. It does prelude revenge and others to come, but it might as well be not only a primordial era of Earth, but also from my life as well. I've experienced this when I was around 4-ish at my parents' second mom and pop shop. Yet still, it took me over 3 decades to receive closure. I'm so relieved I'd finally done this, and bringing a nice conclusion after years of hanging high and dry, just what makes endings so special, no matter how minuscule. I'm sure about 90% of gamers would either pick Super Metroid or perhaps Metroid Dread as a favorite ending from the Metroid series. I'd seen the former so many times, and the final boss with Mother Brain along with the Grand Escape Aid was so tiring. Dread, I've yet to experience it as it's been on my bucket list. Plus, I dropped out of the 9th generation on Nintendo acting greedy, asinine, and the franchise is growing stale and molded like breading sitting out for 3 decades. It was actually thanks to Fawful's Minion that showed me the way and introduced me to my favorite installment, Fusion. Everything about its ending was just perfect. After Malkovich restored its senses and circuits from the X-parasites, while giving Samus her final mission unobliterating the BSL within the planet SR-388, she activates the self-destruct sequence. A time limit ensues, and then heads to her missing spaceship. Oh god, she's stranded with the haunted horde of SAX's infestation! What's this? The Omega Metroid appears, who severely wounds you until the second Blue X metamorphosizing as a doppelganger assists you. Just like how the baby Metroid did. With its combined strength, Samus decimates the fully evolved abomination, and then she's escorted by her missing vessel. It kind of felt like a last-minute decision, but it was decent enough. And then we see the BSL research facility and the planet go off in a blast of glory. Damn, how I wish Resident Evil's Hive would meet that same dramatic fate. It's so exhilarating for a horror movie set go off in a bang. Then, in safety, Samus laments over the mission, that no one in the Federation would support the BSL's destruction. There will be investigations, tribunals, holding both Samus and even Adam Malkovich responsible, despite his brilliant military mind being uploaded to a computer and served beyond death. However, her incredible reunion with her CEO made all the difference. Speaking in her heart, to not worry. One of them must understand their resolve, that we are bound by our own experiences, and in the end, the human soul strives for the truth. Still, her ship doesn't run on autopilot, which means it can play out in either facet. Either Adam himself guides the ship remotely, or if you happen to find the missing Decorus and Edicoons, they pilot the gunship instead. I saw and very much prefer the latter. It was just too damned lovable and soft-hearted from such a tumultuous, intense, and scary mission. Just as peaceful as capybaras. No wonder they became one of my favorite animals as they again helped save Samus's life like we did theirs. I find the ending of the DS version to be more entertaining than its OG N64 counterpart. While I was racking my brain for a Mario entry, with RPG lagging behind, I wanted something simple, fun, and worth rewatching with little to no tedious effort getting there. Of course, Mario has to be the only savior worthy on entering the final dungeon, Bowser in the Sky, and save the princess after bombing his Technicolor tail 3 times. While Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario are left in the shadows. I feel sorry for them, and I happen to like them better than the oversaturating mascot of a greedy corporation. After all they've done to help Mario progress to now. Anyway, we have the usual sequence from the original game, only by the time we get back to Peach's castle, we reunite with the trio as Peach finally materializes from her wall prison. Thankfully, she congratulates everyone for their amazing endeavors. Then she does kiss Mario on the nose, but the entire group roars in victory.
Here we go!
She invites them in for delicious cake, not just for Mario this time, while Yoshi looks yonder and breaks the fourth wall, or rather a Lakitu that's been spying on us. I don't know why, but I considered this to be cute when the adorable Dino gets called in, but it is. I do use him and Luigi as the green team, my mains after all. The credits are kind of the same, but a lot more detailed, and the song's been slightly extended for better measure. The music just speaks for itself, how fulfilling it feels to beat a Mario game while revisiting each world. It's also heartwarming how the heroes wave goodbye to you for taking them on their grand adventures, especially since this was during the negative catalyst of my adulthood. And the majestic Royal Cake Towers as grandiose as ever. Truly a classic for the ages, even as a title for the DS.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
Can't possibly do this list without mentioning the bouncer on it. It's been one of my PS2 GOATs. And how I always wanted a remaster. But Squeenix is just too damn greedy and obsessive for their own good. No doubt that Sion Barzad is my tragic main in the game, as I've mentioned him numerous times, including one of the characters I can relate to. This game actually encases 3 endings, contrary to Volt and Co., who only get 2. After decimating Doragon at the Gallios, as well as saving Dominique in the world, his ending can go in a variety of ways. Ending 1 unlocks his Sensei Wong, in which the entire game must be played with either Volt or Co. until the final battle in which Sion is picked. This triggers a flashback at a forest, where he spars with him. Personally, this is my favorite of the bunch, and you unlock and play as him once you beat him. Ending 2 is triggered when again, play as Volt or Co. throughout the game, but only up to the Chaldea Panther fight within the Gallios. Once Sion's chosen and he defeated her, Chaldea pleads him to stop Doragon. Then, after he's beaten by Sion only, she escorts the quartet as the Gallios separates. However, Chaldea's fate is always tragic, and she sacrifices herself by shoving Sion and Dominique through before she tearfully says goodbye before being separated by the barrier. even Xion recalling her last words outside the bar Fate. The third ending is pretty basic if none of the requirements are met. No flashback, no last words. The triggers for these endings are incredibly awkward, and I wish the game would have all scenes intermixed, rather than just in fan-made vids, especially in my tetralogy with Dragon Ball Z. Like I said, I'd recommend unlocking Wong first before going mental with all that. Not only is it my favorite, but it gives you the chance to unlock characters and upgrade them. Great replayability and possibilities this underappreciated one-hit wonder has, especially with my main man. Damn! 2 Squeenix works in a row! I've known this game when it was introduced as Final Fantasy II for the SNES back in 1991. However, it wasn't until Christmas of 2009 when I've encountered my all-time favorite installment. It has raised the bar exponentially, and if it weren't for the walkthroughs on the new closed-down site mahalo.com, I would have been forever stuck. Every other site like GameFAQs always lulls me to get the Sleeping Blade in lower levels at the Eblon Castle, where Mahalo was a lot more lenient. It assisted me many times, especially when it warned me about Zeromus within the lunar subterrane, the Big Bang, meteor barrages, and how to beat that atrocity took me several times to endure. Even grinding was such a damn chore. I even recalled Cain being the last one standing, and his jump was just enough to finish him off. Zeromus, the ultimate chess master, leaves a rattling message that he can never die as long as darkness exists, much like Mumra in a way. But Fusoyo reassured that as long as there is darkness, so will always be light, much as the 4 crystals with the opposing elements, and how Cecil helped the heroes rise against Zeromus' first void form. Golbez then offers to stay hibernated on the moon and explore his roots, in which the duo won't wake up for another 17 years. Still, Cecil makes one last heartfelt farewell to his lost brother before they return to Earth. And then we get an astonishing display of the universe, followed by the Mysidia prophecy before the lunar whale submerges. The epilogue follows with every character. I always like this as a simple, entertaining way wrapping things up nicely. Palom Emporum shenanigans, Cain redeeming himself like Cecil did on Mount Ordeals, Yang being the next Grandmaster, Edward watching over the people of Damcian with more courage, Rydia being a sort of ambassador at the Feymark, Edge being the new king of Eblon while still yearning for the Summoner, the dwarves repairing the castle, and even be invited for Cecil and Rosa's coronation. Yep, that's right. Both Cecil and Rosa, the restricted lovers, are finally gonna tie the knot and become barons promising royals replacing the deceased then drowned king. Where all of Cecil's friends, excepting Cain, visit him for the blessed occasion. Good riddance, the treacherous dragoon isn't there ruining them again. The epilogue music changes again to a beautiful tune, and then rearranges the prologue theme. The entire ending of Final Fantasy IV was sublime, and a hell of a lot simpler than any other game I've encountered in the Juggernaut. No dark tragic moments, no complications lasting what seems to be an eternity, and definitely no open endings. It's a fantastic finale that seems outmatched. After I've beaten it for the first time in spring 2010, it inspired me to even write my two-parter fanfiction. Final Fantasy VI's ending, 20 to 22 minutes. Final Fantasy IV's ending, almost 23 minutes. The experience on beating my first ever RPG Final Fantasy game and favorite installment in the Juggernaut. Timeless. I know I've mentioned this several times in my videos, but this was just plain irresistible. Another golden ending that is well worth it to have. The better ending from Mortal Kombat 11. First off, ever since I was 8, when the first movie and MK3 were a thing, I always desired for Liu and Kitana to be a couple. From the OG, to Defenders of the Realm, to Annihilation, to the NRS era, and finally here! I say this is bar none the most imperative couple that even surpasses the lousy Cage Blade. Not counting the OG film. In order to do so, the story must be beaten when Lord Liu Kang defeats Kronika in 2 consecutive rounds. That means never losing to either one or staying in the prehistoric era when she erases all of history instead of the dawn of time. Thereby not having all of history be erased irreversibly and having enough power and time for Liu to find Kitana.
The sands of time are yours to shape. You must return the hourglass to the dawn of time and sculpt a new history. A better one.
The fate of all realms in my hands? Raiden, I cannot do this alone.
Yes. You will need a partner with whom you can share the eons.
Kitana.
Your destinies have always been intertwined.
We are far in the past, but not so far that I cannot reach her.
So, with the majestic hourglass and without the crown, Liu transports himself to the Chaotian era, and he awaits his loved one there. The game doesn't necessarily show how he does it, but ever since I've made that one-shot contentment, I kinda see Lord Liu Kang going forward to when Kitana was enlisted as Khan by Kotal when he was severely crippled at the Colosseum. He enlists her to be by his side, melting time's sands, leaving the responsibility to Jade, and then prepping himself. They're just true lovebirds.
So, this is goodbye.
Only goodbye for now. I can't leave while Shao Kahn threatens Outworld. I must seek justice for what he did to my family, and to all Edenia.
I will come back for you, to aid you, Princess.
I only wish for the DLC plot would have utilized this. Couple gold indeed. Both the new Keepers of Time look and coincide well together. I never would have wanted it any other way, even more so than the rulers of the Netherrealm, and especially Liu and Kitana's latter endings, and Dominic's retarded experiment. I was deeply inspired, and it tugged my heartstrings yearning for this to be canon. So much so I expanded upon it on multiple projects, and even taking Tobias's vision on bearing a son. This was Lutana's golden moment, and one of the positives of the overhated installment. I'll cherish and treasure this moment forever. They could have simply gone with this and beyond in Aftermath, and it's what the fans wanted, in which the money laundering developers and shillers neglect. They've done so much in my chronology too. At least this would have been the ideal ending over Aftermaths. I wish the bad ending wasn't canon.
Pop this fucker in here.
Long have I had visions of this moment. I will savor your death for eternity.
You are mad, Shang Tsung. Your visions are nothing. Delusions of an addled mind.
Realm and Order Realm are next. All realms will soon yield to your influence.
It has begun.
What were they thinking?
I was never sure if either Mortal Kombat 11's ending or this one would take the gold as my all-time favorite ending, until I gave myself a bit of self-reflection. I always wanted closure for the various things I've encountered, whether movies, shows, and games. Hell, I even dislike songs when they're stuck in an endless loop. While I was constructing contenders a long time ago, there was one champion that can't be replaced. The game that marked the end of an era for my video game odyssey. Guardians of the Galaxy. After a very intense battle against Hala the Accuser, Peter and his team become shocked on her emergence from a large fallen barrier from her own ship. Thanks to absorbing power from the Eternity Forge, which restores people back to life upon death, she survives, then sets her ship to steer into a destructive core. The Guardians were unable to escape, and Peter spends his last moments with his mom on the verge of death. They begin camping together, and Meredith is at her happy place, with her son and being out with the stars rather than cooped up in a hospital. Peter lights up the fire, yet Meredith sees it diminishing, her life dimming before her eyes. I'd rather stay sympathetic, especially since this was a sign that Hala's vitals are vanishing upon the Forge's destruction. She became delusional, seeing her son bow Din. Because of Peter's last experience, I'd rather give sympathy to this devil, as she's one of the interesting hated characters, something the MCU failed to do while consumed by self-infliction, much as Hala herself. The Forge destroyed her, and Dismal Disney destroys itself, much as 4Kids, PlayStation, and Xbox, and eventually others. Regardless, the galaxy is saved, the cursed artifact and power-hungry Krill are no more, and after all the trials that almost dismantled the Guardians, they stuck together. If it weren't for Mantis, they wouldn't have stayed as one unit and be found and show these cool subconscious islands, which inspired me for this fic. No need for her to be remorseful like Hala despite using the forge. And she decides to give him one last chance to see his mom in the realm before the afterlife. Meredith was pleased seeing her son all grown up, a hybrid of space adventurer and Indiana Jones. She did call him her little Star-Lord in the first film. Even impressed that Yondu raised him. I'll take him over Ego, that's for sure. At least this Star-Lord's much more tolerable. I'm glad Peter finally had his chance to see his mom one last time. Listen to one more song to make their love final, to tie up loose ends. I was even close to tears since my mom passed when I was a tween, replaced by a toxic one till my early 30s, and replaced again by a Philippine permanent US citizen. And here's to the Guardians, to the best family, without losing Gamora with no Infinity War, and it's the best game showcasing what the MCU cannot do. I'm the Ekron Rider, and I'm kinda like the emotional McCoy, but endings deserve to be seen and heard. It gives the characters and viewers much needed closure, and we too must be aware of our mortality. As a fanfic writer, conclusion is an absolute must, whether your own works, or finishing bucket lists, or life itself. Corps don't care for that. They just rot and keep following the money laundering, even though I wish they'd perish. Closure is the most important aspect to me in all media, and there's nothing better than a well-deserved finale without cancellations or decay. And Guardians alone knows how to make a great ending for all of Marvel, as well as the far point of my gaming journey. Everything must have a beginning, middle, and end, and that's where all good things come from. Better to be fulfilled and finished. And to counter the lousy cliched overused quote in Castlevania, what makes a man? A friend of mine once wondered. Is it his origins? The way he comes to life? I don't think so. It's the choices he makes. Not how he starts things, but how he decides to end them.